Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm! Wait. Everybody calm down!
Everybody stay calm.
Stay calm, y'all. Stay calm,
y'all.
No one freak out. No one freak out.
No one freak out. But the boys, we thought we back. Not because we want to be, because
not
we need
at all.
to be.
not that we like I said, we love doing this for you guys, but we really had wanted a break.
We thought that we would get a break. It was Father's Day, and we thought that like all dads, the main thing that we love as a gift for Father's Day is rest. And we thought that we would get that, but we're back again. And I think that we have decided that when we have to give you guys this midweek episode, as you guys know, we normally release on Monday. But when we have to come on Wednesday and give you an emergency episode, we are going to start calling this the Pardon the Politics Midweek Mayhem. So we got some mayhem going on that we got to give you on this day. So, brother, how you doing?
You know, all things considered,
mayhem.
All things considered, I'm doing well. How was your Father's Day, man?
And it was good, man. It was good. It was a great time, man. Had great time with my girls. I got to rest a little bit, and all is well, man. So
that's a blessing. That's a blessing.
Yeah, so welcome to our listeners to this midweek mayhem as we break down a topic that is currently going on that is just mayhem. So crazy, right? Yeah. So crazy that we have to come in and do an emergency episode to say, look, we got to start talking about this now. So for our listeners, welcome in. Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope this episode finds you as well as possible as you can possibly be. So in the midst of all the mayhem that's going on, I think it's quite obvious what we are considering and what will be the topic that we speak on in this episode.
It's the BET Awards, right?
Well, bro. Is it the parade? That I just want to say, and I'm not going to spend much time on it, but that I have lined up as a child my toy figurines and those little green army men and have put on a better parade in my bedroom as a child than what I saw on this past Saturday. That was a complete embarrassment.
That's a mess, man.
It was terrible. And for Trump to complain about the weather and the turnout to be so low, but all these No King protests around the nation had hundreds of thousands of people. This was just utterly embarrassing. And from what reports have been said, it seems like, and by Trump's face, he did not enjoy it at all either.
He was not enjoying himself. First of all, he's old.
Yeah, I mean,
he's old. They don't have him outside all that time, watching the U.S. Army not walk in step.
Bruh.
Watch these movie prop tanks.
Bruh.
Get drugged across the screen.
I almost thought like this. This what our military look like? We should have kept this at home.
Right.
Even
out here embarrassing us.
It straight because you see these parades like what North Korea and Russia do, and I mean they be on point. Like they be good. I seen homie walk around holding a drone up in the air in his hand, walking down the street and waving at people like this was the Macy's Day Parade.
And it wasn't even like a great drone. Like,
no,
I'm like,
that was bought off of Amazon.
I can get that off a TikTok shop. Boy.
But this whole parade looked like it came. They bought it off the TikTok shop. It was terrible. But I don't even think we have to talk about it because I think collectively there's certain things that happen in our great nation that no matter what side of the aisle you fall on, we all can agree on one thing every now and then. And I think we all can agree Saturday was horrible. So we're not even going to rehash the embarrassment that happened on Saturday. But the mayhem that we want to talk about is, bro, the Middle East is on fire.
Fire.
It is on fire. The tension between Israel and Iran has literally exploded into what we have seen over the past couple of days with direct military strikes, missile brigades, and just alarms all over the place. But in this coverage that we want to do in this midweek mayhem, is this just another flare up, or are we really on the edge of something far more dangerous? So, in this, I want to break down just the days that got us to this point, and just to kind of give you guys a warning. We're recording this Tuesday night,
Not even night, Tuesday, like
Tuesday
early
evening.
evening. Because for all we know, this pops off
There is a
as we're
likelihood.
recording.
There's a likelihood that we cut these mics off and we turn on the news and there could be utter chaos.
Things are going sideways, vertically,
sideways.
diagonal. So y'all buckle up.
So there is more to come on this, but we're going to just catch you up to where we are in the mayhem so far. And before I do that, I just want to say shout out to whoever's running the Twitter account for Iran, because they've been going crazy
Having a ball.
the captions. I don't know, bro. Like the captions and the details is not funny, but it kind of is, because it's like we're at a time like it makes me think about like the coverage that we got when like we had the U.S. and the Iraq thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And now social media has changed society so much that we literally have like a government, a nation trolling the other nation, talking about what they're about to do. Like, bro,
there is somebody on payroll at governments across the world for trolling people on the internet.
It's one thing to troll people, bro, but it's a whole nother degree to troll a nation.
Bro.
That's a crazy job, bro. But I want to start off and just kind of break down the days that led us to it at where we're at currently recording, which is Tuesday. So on Friday, June the 13th, this was the first strike in this chaos and this tension that has erupted over the past couple of days. So Israel launched an operation called Rising Lion, and this operation was a preemptive air campaign targeting over 100 Iranian sites, including nuclear facilities, missile launchers, and IRGC command posts. Over 200 aircraft dropped munitions across the country, even deep into Iran, where two of Iran's most protected nuclear sites were located. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in that first strike, they killed a great deal of high-ranking individuals in the Iranian government / military.
Oh yeah, they came headhunting,
bruh.
They knew where people were at,
bruh. Played no games, bro. Played no games.
Quit grade school because of recess.
Bro. So on this first night, of course, Iran retaliated where they launched 150 plus ballistic missiles and about 100 plus drones across Israeli airspaces. Now, most of them were intercepted because we know about the dome that they have that our lovely president would like to replicate. Which it made me think about that, because if they can't intercept all of them, and Israel is nowhere near in land mass and span of the U.S., how in the world is that even possible for us?
Well, it's my understanding that it's not just the Iron Dome they got there. The U.S. has a ballistic missiles defense system called THAAD. We've also sent some of those over there. So They got some U.S. technology, and we heard even Trump talk about it, that like the U.S. makes the best weaponry, the most lethal. So
it's always funny to hear people do the Trump voice. Like you can't never say anything that Trump says in a normal voice, bro. But most of those missiles were intercepted, but some did hit. So on that first night, I in talking about the details of that, I'm wondering, with this first strike, is this a preemptive strike because of national security? Or is this really a dangerous provocation that's going to spiral out of control? Is this really going to be? Because if Israel believes that war is inevitable, are they making it so? Or what is really happening with this?
Well, I think the other thing that's important to remember about this, what happened earlier in the day, the UN had found that Iran was in non-compliance of, I believe, the nuclear non-proliferation. I have no idea. I don't mess that word all the way.
That's a mouthful. Pause. It's June, but
But they had found them in violation of the nuclear pact that they had signed previously. So that is something.
Is that the pact that the U.S. pulled out of?
No.
Oh,
this is that's the larger, like, global. Hey, we're not gonna try to blow up the world with nukes anymore.
Okay, got you.
But they, part of. Let's be honest about it. They've been trying to get at Iran for a little bit now,
Bruh.
Like for a while, and I think finally either a couple of things have had to happen. Is they finally got fed up and said, hey, we're going to move. They finally got the okay. Yeah. I mean, because the other thing that's mighty convenient around this is that Trump gave Iran a 60-day deadline to try to get a deal done. And all this popped off on day 61 at midnight.
Oh, bro. Oh, for real?
Yeah. It was day 61. So with that timing, it's convenient.
Yeah, I was about to say
convenient that this immediately started popping off like this. And that you saw Israel take the same steps with Iran that it had done with I was going to say Hamas, but it's not Hamas in this one. Hezbollah, sorry. When they started really going at Hezbollah and taking out these leaders. I mean, Israel came out and said, we're going after your scientists, we're going after your military heads. And I think if you think to art of war, if you're trying to stop the nuclear program, you're going to want to take out the scientists. Yeah. But for them to have done this so quickly shows advanced planning to be able to move and be able to react to this.
Well, I think that you made a good point. I wanted to play this clip. It seems as though, like you said, but this has been something that Big Benny has wanted in the past, and this clip shows for our listeners. This is the stance that Big Benny has had on Iran for over a span of about 30 years. So here's the clip.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year. It could be within a few months.
That was this week.
Wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran
2018.
is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb. Iran is gearing
2012.
up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade. Ladies and gentlemen,
2006.
Time is running out.
Iran will be capable
1996.
of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
95.
Bruh.
This, geez, I don't know about you, but this screams to me.
Hold on.
Wait, hold on.
Is that time? Is that time of the episode?
It's time for the episode. Hey, hit our theme music. Hey, this screams to me. 2002 United States. Weapons of mass destruction.
Bruh, I thought the same exact thing, because this is a conversation that Big Benny has been having over the span of 30 years. And
he's mad. He's mad like Bush was mad at Iraq for the plan to hit his daddy.
Yep. He said, I gotta get my lick back. But I think it's just odd, because even the stance that Trump has, and there was another clip that's been circulating on news outlets, but Trump was asked about what he feels as though is Iran's approach, or how ready they are to creating these nuclear weapons. Here we go. We having technical difficulties.
We have technical difficulties.
But in the clip that he spoke of, they asked him how soon did he think. He said, they're very close to doing it. And back in March, in front of Congress, Tulsi Gabbard, who is the advisor of national intelligence, said that the national
director of what? National what?
Intelligence.
Meaning she should know some of these things, right?
Yes.
I just needed to clarify that for myself, just to make sure.
And I also want to add on top of that the man who does not hardly read his briefings apparently knows more than the advisor of the director of national intelligence. But she stated back in March, was only a couple of months ago, that she had the intelligence community had no indication that Iran was building these nuclear weapons, and I can't remember his name, whoever the guy that runs Iran was saying that since 2003 he has suspended the program as he had stated, and there was no indication that he had rebooted or restarted that program for them to start back making these weapons. And when they said this to Trump was like, I don't care what she said. I think they close to doing it.
I think they did it.
Wait a minute, bro. Like, this is her job.
And for our listeners at home, let's quickly talk about what it takes to create a nuclear bomb. To be able to create weapons-grade uranium. Yeah. You need a concentration of a very particular atom called U-235, and that concentration has to be at 90%. In natural uranium, it's at 0.7%, with everything else being U-238. So you have to centrifuge it. You have to really work on it. So this is not an easy task.
Yeah.
Now, Iran, through its nuclear program, it has reached as of early mid 2025 this year that Iran was enriching uranium to about 60% purity. And that 60% purity is something that you usually have and is at limits of what would be like a civilian program. Okay. So nuclear power plants, something like that. Now, the interesting part is there have been reports. Back in 2023, there was an online report, because everything on the internet's true, is that as they were doing a check, and the agency that did it is not named, but that the claim was that they saw a peak of uranium-235 at 83.7%. And that's wild. That's also very close to 90, but that has not been substantiated by any reputable place.
Okay.
So still 60% is a big deal because, to get from 0.7 to 60 is a trip.
Yeah.
So to go from 60 to 90, it's not that far of a reach. You could potentially get that if they even have 60%.
Yeah.
So it's, again, everyone said they hadn't started it. International communities have said, we've seen nothing that says that they're doing this. But Big Netty, who I might add, is currently not in Israel.
Oh, that's convenient.
Oh, yeah. According to reports, a little bit after that first day, he made his way to Greece.
Oh, bro. Yeah, come on now.
And the Ayatollah, the leader of the supreme ruler of Iran, to my understanding, also is no longer in Iran. So now we're in a situation where the leaders of these countries,
that's wild,
are no longer in those countries. Bruh. And I don't know, it kind of caused a conundrum for me. Like, hey, if you're going to talk that big game, I thought you were going to be down there with your people as we're doing this. But
yeah, if I'm gonna talk it, I'm gonna talk it on my front porch. I ain't gonna go say it from somebody else's house. Like, no,
stoop kid ain't leaving the stoop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. And to your point earlier, man, I'm sitting here wondering, like, Big Netty, you got a lot of cards in your hand, man. You got a whole lot of. It's like that person playing Uno that had draw 4, draw 2, and a couple of skips that didn't happen, and it's like you sitting here now. with a fistful of cards. It's like he got a lot going on, man.
Yeah.
And it just seems very chaotic.
Well, it sounds like the goal is regime change here.
Yeah.
Because you saw early on, Big Netty coming out there and saying, people of Iran, our beef is not with you. It's your leadership. Now's your time to rise up and take over.
I always wonder when people do that. When governments do that, it's like, are you really here to do what you said you're here to do? Right. Or you got a little alternative motive?
Well, I think Israel kind of wants to be the only country right now. I believe Saudi Arabia may also have nukes, I believe. But I think Israel kind of wants to be the only person in that region with nukes.
I don't know if that sounds like conflict. That sounds like mayhem. Yeah. So then, man, now that leads me to what you were saying about how this feels kind of like U.S. and Iraq again. Was that not the alternative motive regime change as well?
No. And too, the motive was oil.
You got to get it like Dave Chappelle said, you got to get that oil.
You got to get that oil. So I feel for the people.
Yeah.
Of both countries who are just like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, and that leads me into the next day, which is that Saturday, which is June the 14th. Of course, there was escalation on both sides. Israel followed up with some fresh strikes, this time hitting Iranian energy infrastructure and missile depots. And Iran responded by hitting 2 cities that were in Israel, where 4 Israeli civilians were killed and 15 were injured. So when you see the response that happens here, it leads me to think Iran says that these attacks are self-defense, but they're targeting civilian areas.
Right.
So is that really justified when you're going in this tick-for-tack war that Israel and Iran has found themselves in?
Well, good brother. Hit my music. So let's rewind a couple months back.
Okay.
One of the things that you heard from the Israeli government is about how Hamas was using civilian infrastructure to plan their attacks, to hide troops, to hide weapons, to hide missiles, and that they were launching them from these points. Now, I would like to say I am not an expert in military equipment, but there are various clips that are now floating around Al Gore's internet.
Shout out to Al Gore.
That show missiles taking off from Israel from civilian centers, near apartment buildings, near like some of these agencies are embedded in communities. And it's like you're throwing a lot of stones, Nettie, but you're in a glass house, man. And it's concerning. Is this self-defense? I mean, in this incident, Iran did not attack first for this go round. Now, that can be a stretch because we also know Iran is one of the biggest sponsors of terrorism in terms of funding outside groups, kind of keep from getting their hands a little bit too muddy. So do I think there's an argument it's self-defense? Absolutely. Do I think that there's an argument that it's not self-defense? Yeah, probably. But again, I just really feel for all the people who are they're trying to chill. They're just trying to chill, man.
Yeah, and I think that to that point, even in day 3, when you look at Sunday, June the 15th, the death toll it went up.
Yeah.
There was more of hitting these civilian areas. On day 3, Israel struck over 80 sites in Tehran, hitting military and energy locations, and Iran suffered over 200 deaths, including members of its Revolutionary Guard. But in return, you see Iran let off 270 plus missiles that were fired into Israel, striking civilian areas again. And that actually sent the death toll of the Israeli death toll into double figures. So even again on the third day, it's almost like you still see it going. Which kind of leads me to your tinfoil hat, that where they're letting these missiles off at, because I would assume that they be striking where these missiles are coming from. But if they are staged in these civilian areas, then Iran is only doing what they need to do to quote unquote self-defend.
Yeah.
But civilians are dying, hundreds are wounded on both sides. So when you think about war and what's going on right now, you know, it leads me to think that are these just, is this collateral damage, or are both governments kind of lost control of this fallout? Is it like where is is this the structure of what war should be, or is this just collateral damage in the tension that these two nations have?
Well, I think there was always going to be fallout, and not only missiles. So it came out earlier today that there's cyber warfare happening behind all of this. You know, banks being hit, and different other infrastructure. And this is where I think you see any situation that happens with Israel. This is usually where the United States steps in and really tries to turn down the temperature.
Yeah.
And that's not happening.
That is not happening, and that's crazy that you say that, because my next thing that I was going to say is, how does this affect our support for the war efforts here at home? Because normally that is our stance. We need to bring the temperature down. But we see with the last administration, with the Biden administration, that was a struggle for them to do that between Israel and what was going on in Gaza with Palestine and what have you. We were seeing death tolls just steady climbing, but not a real temperature bring down of the tension that was going on. Now we have another administration with a new issue, or I guess say a new tension in this issue, and we're not seeing that cool down. So
Right.
then how does that look for us as America, and our stance of how do we approach our support? Because we've seen in recent, I think Big Benny today was on like Fox News and was talking like the U.S. needs to have a defensive posture in what's going on. And it's like, when I heard it, it's almost like Ben is trying to pull us into something that is going to be, going to put us in a real sticky situation.
Well, and remember who Iran's friends are.
Mm-hmm.
They're friends with Russia.
Mm-hmm.
They're friends with China.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of countries in the Middle East do not like Israel.
Yeah, facts.
Israel defends a lot of U.S. positions on our behalf. So it gets real interesting. And I think how we've always kind of navigated through that is stepping in and being like, hey, y'all really don't want us to get involved, so why don't we all just chill out? But then when you have Trump out here demanding that Iran come back to the table and want a completely unconditional surrender, like we're not helping here at this point. You see a lot of countries stepping in and be like, hey, let's calm down. This is not good.
Mm-hmm.
But there were reports earlier that China had sent a military plane full of supplies over to Iran. So like this could be a while. And I think we said it on a previous episode of all the places we could watch immediately go into conflict.
Mm-hmm.
We still have the Russia-Ukraine situation.
Yep.
Now we have Israel and Iran happening.
Mm-hmm.
We still have the ever-looming South Korea, North Korea situation that is in a standoff. Then we have the China-Taiwan situation.
Mm-hmm.
It is never a great position for the U.S. to be where we're having to fight multiple fights at once.
When you may not know this off the top of your head, but when was the last time that we had our hands this busy in so many different cookie jars?
It had to be a previous world war. Like and I think some of this comes to the prominent position of the U.S. has had for a long time, being the world police.
Yeah.
And eventually there's crime in a lot of places that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And it's not good. This is getting real bad real fast. But I think absolutely Benjamin is trying to bring us into this. And I think the problem with that is ultimately there are three interests that are in play here.
Mm-hmm.
First, you have the Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
That is a worldwide religion. Then you have the Israelis.
Mm-hmm.
A great portion of them, of the people in Israel, are Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
So much that, Judaism is, I believe, the national religion of Israel. And then you have Benjamin Netanyahu. And all of these things are happening all around the same time. But I don't know. I'll say don't know. I don't know if all of these people have the same goal in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it puts the U.S. in a very awkward position about being able to help.
Yeah.
Because I think what you have is you have the Jewish people, the Israelis, and Benjamin Netanyahu all grouped in as once.
Yeah.
And I think what no one really wants to be identified as an anti-Semite.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you reconcile as a country, as a public, where we've struggled separating being an anti-Semite that's really against the Jewish people,
Yeah.
while also separating that from not agreeing with what Israel's doing?
Yeah.
Then on top of that, you have Benjamin Netanyahu, who's now at this point, his legacy is all involved with this. So the success or failure of all of this goes on his record, goes on his legacy. So you almost need that. Is the nuclear threat a huge one? Yes. But you know what the Israeli people are probably tired of? They're probably tired of war.
Bruh. Got to be, because and that makes me question the intent of Netanyahu. Like, what? I feel like that this is a Hail Mary for his legacy.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, win, lose, or draw, I got to put all my eggs in this one play. And but that almost kind of reminds me somehow of how Trump operates as well too.
Yeah.
It's extreme, it's chaotic, it's mayhem, it's crazy. But if it works, I'm good.
But if it doesn't,
and if it doesn't, and it looks like it might possibly not.
Right. Dr. Strange came up to Big Netty, and Big Netty asked, "In how many scenarios
do I win?
Do I win?"
And Dr. Strange gave him that one
finger, like,
and that person that was going to be the one was Tony Stark, and we already got a bad relationship breakup with our Tony Stark. Tony Stark with Elon. This is the quietest Elon has been in a long time. I feel like he like us. He just sitting back like, let me watch the scene, because this is moving really fast, quick.
And it's like, what is Iran? If I'm Trump, what do I think Iran's motivation is?
Yep.
To come to the table.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Iran is technically losing. They're definitely not winning.
Yeah.
I don't think Israel is losing, but I don't think they're winning.
They're not winning.
Has Iran had their infrastructure hit, their nuclear facilities hit? They've lost some very high people in their government. Yeah. That is an L they took. But how much more of an L has Israel taken?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's now video of these hypersonic missiles now hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Like the aura of this impenetrable iron dome is gone.
And it seems like as it escalates, we're starting to see they're penetrating. It's June.
Mm-hmm.
they're able to hit, Iran. So how much longer can this continue for Iran? For Israel. I think Iran is, and like you said, if the goal for Iran is to come to the table and talk, What is it that they want to accomplish? I think when we look at what this administration has done, and I had to go back and look because Trump wants a deal to be done, and I get it. You want a deal to be done, but we had
what's
a deal.
But what's the deal?
What deal is it that you want? And if you wanted to work on a better deal, then why did you get rid of Obama's deal? Because it seems that at least from Obama's deal that he had, this wasn't happening. They had him at least in a spot of this was not a grave concern to them. And from what Tulsi Gabbard said from the intelligence community, we had seen that they had not reignited this program. This deal lifted some of those sanctions with the agreement that they would suspend this. And if I remember from detail, this would slow down and kind of hinder them from nuclear growth for at least 10 to 15 years. Trump comes in and wipes it out because he wants a harder deal. I guess something that's a little more harder than what Obama had is June. But why not let the deal stay in place and then come to the table? And let's talk about how we could maybe restructure. I never understand his art, and maybe I should read the book, The Art of the Deal. I never understand his deal making because it does not make sense to me to punch you in the mouth and then say, okay, let's talk.
Right. Because now I'm mad. Now you're not hit me in the mouth.
Bingo. And you look
like, is it what I don't understand right now is it seems like the only reason that Iran would come to the table is if they were trying to prevent the U.S. from getting involved. But as far as we know right now, the U.S. is helping shoot some of these missiles out of the sky. There have been reports that there are B-2 bombers flying over Iran's airspace right now.
Yep.
Like, so you're already kind of involved. At least if I'm Iran and I'm seeing that's my interpretation. But then also, how involved now is China? What was on that cargo plane? What did they get there? And it feels like we are on the path. I feel like if both sides were completely left alone, these two sides are going to just keep firing missiles at each other until they don't have any more left.
Yep.
And Trump alluded to it, I believe it was Sunday, maybe Saturday, where he's like, sometimes you just got to let them fight it out. And not saying that is a great strategy, but eventually these guys are going to run out of missiles.
Yep.
And it doesn't appear they're not close enough where you're going to have ground troops. I watched some videos about Iran and its geography. There's a lot of mountains.
Oh, bro,
You're not just going to, storm the beaches of Iran and get in there, not without them knowing you're coming.
Yeah. So that's not gonna work.
What is the plan? What is the goal? And I don't think Israel has a goal. I think their goal was to provoke it into an attack at this point.
Yeah.
And then the U.S. gets involved and then they surrender. I don't think that's going to happen. And if it does happen, I don't think it's going to happen this week. But at the rate that we're going with this pod, we will go ahead and finish recording this and there's going to be an announcement of the peace deal.
It's just, that's a great point, Manny, because in all of this, what is the goal? Where are we trying to get to? And for Israel to have the first strike in this conflict, Iran has been said, or at least is believed, they don't have a nuclear program going on currently. What intelligence does Big Benny have that provoked him to do this? Because now you're really forcing a war and a conflict that's got a lot of people involved that already have a lot of conflict going on, that already have tensions already. You think of, like you said, China and with Russia, and you think of all these things. This just seems like Big Benny. It almost gives me the vibe of like a big brother, little brother. My little brother went and started a fight with somebody that could potentially be bigger than him. And
now
then he
come in.
Yeah, now I got to come in and be like, man, don't hit my brother. Like, I didn't want to fight today.
and here is the X factor that is still sitting on Iran's side where it gets real interesting. If you look at the Strait of Hormuz, it's south of Iran. Iran has threatened to close it before. They could very well do it again. 20% of the globe's oil flows through that strait every day.
Ooh. 17
million barrels every day. If Iran steps in and closes that and said, "Nah, y'all not going to pass through here," everyone's going to feel it.
I think I heard in a report I saw earlier today that fuel is already going up because of the rise of the conflict that's going on between these two. So, if you throw that into the mix,
it starts getting greasy, starts getting real greasy.
It's sticky.
But you know who that benefits?
Who?
Russia. And Russia been hurting for some money.
Russia gonna say, "Hey, look, times is tight. We got the we got to win this big baggy treat over here. Did you?
We got that black gold.
We got a little oil you can get at a rate.
How y'all trying to act?" But if they were to do that, if they were to block the strait, immediate international backlash.
Oh, bro, it would be
immediate.
It would be crazy, and I'm not gonna sit here and act like that's a far off possibility that cannot happen. If they, depending on how Iran feels, and if they feel like they're getting backed into a corner, it's very well possible. Because I got to think of the mindset of Iran. If they once they get pushed to a certain point, they're like, "Hey, look,
what I got to lose?
What I got to lose? Let's get it. Let's get it." And I think even with the escalation, and I want to talk about what took place on Monday. I believe on Monday we seen the first strike on what is believed to be Iran's nuclear site. So Israel ramped up again on Monday, and they hit, I think it's pronounced the Natanz.
I believe so, yeah.
The Natanz nuclear site. They hit Tehran state TV.
Oh yeah, while they were alive,
bro. They were live. Homegirl Rick was like, "Oh, we gotta go." and we'll see you on commercial break.
Now word from our sponsors.
But even in that, kind of talking about the casualty thing again, and maybe, I don't know, this could be for the tinfoil hat community, but Russia also hit a military hospitals, excuse me. Maybe Iran could be sending some missiles off from somewhere nearby hospitals. I don't know. Could be some of the same thing. But of course, and here we are with this tick for tack, Iran responded on Monday with 400 missiles and drones, some landing near Tel Aviv, and allegedly damaging the U.S. Embassy building. So kind of what you were saying before, as the days go on of this conflict, we're seeing that Iran is able to penetrate some areas inside Israel. So
you got to think, as this progresses, you need ammunition for the Iron Dome.
Yep, and if you're using it all up, because I don't have the count, but each day. They ain't sending off like just little 5, 10, 15 missiles.
They letting it
ride. They letting it ride. So at some point, this weakness of the Iron Dome is a reality for Israel. And I got to think that with them provoking Iran, could this lead to Iran with them striking? And from what I understand, their nuclear site or wherever it's possible that it's like so far underground that it's basically like you can't do nothing with it. You can't even damage it.
I've heard there's only a couple nations that could damage it: the U.S., Russia, and China.
So the big boys.
2 of those 3 ain't touching it.
Yeah, 2. Yeah, but with Israel striking those sites. To me, could that lead to provoking Iran to, if they haven't already, restart this nuclear weapons program?
Oh, absolutely. There was rumored that there was a 6.2 magnitude earthquake that happened in Iran, allegedly.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, was that a nuclear test?
Ooh.
I mean, you know, if you already coming at me for building a nuclear bomb and I'm not, what if you're already shooting? Well, yeah, I might as well do the thing that you're accusing me of.
I mean, yeah. If you will keep calling me a thief and they ain't stole, I mean, I guess I might as well dabble
steal
while we're
something. Yeah. But if I look at it from the U.S. standpoint, Trump has to be real careful here. Because you and I were talking about it earlier. Congress does not want to get involved. The American people want no part of this.
They don't want this.
From outside of your neocons, the left and the right are just combined saying, absolutely not. Do not get involved with this. To the fact that there are bills that are being filed and talked about being filed to prevent Trump from doing this.
Which I think is wild.
And so right now, my understanding, I'll confirm this, but I still believe it holds pretty true. The U.S. president can declare war for about 30 days before Congress has to step in and authorize it. So technically, by these powers, they can do it. But if Trump gets a little bit too off his rocker, knowing that the American people, I've seen people on social media to the biggest Trump people to just slightly moderate Republicans being like, absolutely not, do not get involved with this. If Trump pushes too much, I think there's a possibility that he could drive Congress together. We know Congress has this ability to come together if things get greasy. And they start taking powers away from the presidency.
Bruh, that would be...
And could this lead to the downfall of Trump losing so much of the presidential powers before we're even 6 months into the administration?
Bruh, let me tell you. That last part, bruh, is this. On my bingo card, I didn't believe that we'd be here to maybe year 2.5. Bruh, we are moving. This car is moving way too fast.
I want to get off.
You ain't even got to stop the car. Just get it slow enough that I can roll out and not hurting myself too bad.
Yeah. Well, and for everyone, the numbers. Let's talk about how this would play out quickly. They file these bills. Simple majority. Ignoring the fight to even get it on the floor. But let's say the bill gets on the floor and they vote for it. It's getting vetoed immediately because you need a simple majority in the House and the Senate. And I think to be able to get that simple majority from both sides would be simple because that many people don't want us to go to war or move to do that. Trump is going to veto it.
Oh, yeah.
In the Senate, they need 67 votes to override a veto. This, I could believe, is a big enough issue that they would want to take it away from him, where I think you could get 67.
I think you can, too.
And then in the House, you need 290. So there would need to be at least 78 more people. Sorry, I had to do the math in my head.
No, you
78 people to flip sides in the House to override the veto. So now it's kind of like, Trump, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Like we are seeing happen out loud. In the first Trump administration, we heard about people disagreeing with Trump.
Yeah.
But it was largely kept behind the scenes. We are seeing this happen in public.
Yes, sir. Yep.
In a way that hasn't happened before. Like you would hear spurts in every administration. But again, we're not even 6 months in and people are like, hey, yo. And on top of this, isn't this why Trump kicked out, what's his face? National Security, not the National Security. Yeah, National Security Advisor, Mike Lee. I think I had that name, right?
Yeah.
Because he was planning this attack.
Yep.
Like, and then to go back again, Big Nettie trying to bring him in, saying, oh, well, that whole thing about attacking the leader of Iran and offing him, and then Trump coming out today saying, oh, we know where he's at. He's
Yeah,
fine.
He's fine now.
For now.
For now.
Like, what are we doing?
That to me, and the tone that he had is such an escalation, and even down to like what I was talking about earlier about how he just kind of dismissed Tulsi Gabbard. It's like his tone is not even of the approach of trying to de-escalate this thing.
For a person who has not been reading their intelligence briefings.
Bruh. It's wild, man. And I think that even when you look at today, Tuesday, so far at the time of this recording, Israel is back and forth. They struck again today, and they reportedly killed Iran's new chief of staff. Homeboy just got in the seat. They done off him. So that's the second senior official that they have killed in 4 days. And Iran again responded with another 20 missiles. And these missiles injured civilians in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem, while 30 drones were intercepted. Now, we'll note it seems like Iran's numbers are coming down a little bit on what they're able to put out from an arsenal perspective. So maybe there could be some possible slowdown of what may possibly be able to happen. But when you see these targeted killings, these strikes, and the escalation, it feels as though none of these the escalation right now has no off ramp.
None.
And when I think about that, is diplomacy even on the table anymore at this point? Is there any way possible that there can be any talk or conversation whatsoever at this point, as high as tensions have been, and we see that the U.S. hasn't done much, in my opinion, hasn't done much of anything to de-escalate what is currently going on. It seems like we more may be throwing, I wouldn't say lighter fluid, but we certainly are fanning the flames in some shape, form, or fashion with the way the president has talked about and directed his comments towards this. So I wonder, is that even possible, man?
I mean, I think the worst case scenario, or maybe best case scenario, unfortunately, is they might just have to keep fighting this out until there's no more missiles to fire. And no one wins in that situation. No one wins. It's all death and destruction.
Bro.
But the question that I have that's running through my head is Jesus getting ready to wear the Air Moses down here, or the Ezekiel 12s?
Right.
Or does he have a new custom pair that he's about to show up with?
Hey, bro, I look at it as, I don't know, but you know how you see old black people that before they get up, they got to do that rock back?
Get that momentum going.
I feel like he might be. I might feel like he might be getting a little momentum going. Like, all right, y'all getting out of hand, bro. But there's a lot going on, and the Middle East is on fire. I hope that cooler heads prevail. But it looks like there's a possibility that if somebody doesn't come in and really say, all right, guys, we need to. And before I say that, I feel like there's also a lot of disconnect within Trump's world. Because I think if I remember correctly, Marco Rubio kind of made some comments like, we really don't, need to get our hands in this. And then Trump kind of said something that was opposite of that. And Rubio had to kind of come back with like, no, me and the president on the same page. Tulsi Gabbard, in light of the comment that I said earlier that Trump said, she's still like, no, we're on the same page and we have an understanding. It feels like people are like, okay, Trump, this is when we need you to take off the diaper and put on your big boy president pants.
Right.
And I feel that outside of his first administration, this second administration is really testing him and his presidential ability. And if he does not walk that line very tight, we may be in for a wild ride. We're already on a wild ride, but this could really get out of hand.
And we don't have the caliber of people that we did in this first administration.
Bruh.
Instead of,
oh my God, man, that's a great point.
Instead of James Mattis, a decorated soldier,
bruh,
the Marines named him Mad Dog.
Bruh.
We went from that to P. Hegseth, essentially a podcaster. He is us.
He just do
he just made it a Fox.
He did serve.
He did serve.
But
thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. But after that post career, that's all you did, and you just do basically what we do on a bigger level, on a bigger platform.
You were on Fox.
But this is the same person that was getting chewed out of reportedly by Trump because of the look of our soldiers in that parade. Like, this is the same person who is getting responses off of ChatGPT, and we know because we see that long line the AI give you when you type in a question. Well, this is the same person that's leaking information on Signal, the same person that apparently was talking about military strikes with in a chat with his wife and his brother or brother-in-law. Like, we don't have the people in place.
Don't have the people.
What's that clip of that? God, I wish I had that clip so I could play it when that guy was like, we don't have the capacity. It started crying.
Well, and it's not, look, the American people at this point, the morale is so low.
Bruh.
Luckily, neither of us are of age to be drafted.
Bruh.
So these are questions that we personally will not have to answer.
Bruh.
But I wonder if we get into a situation where there's a draft, how many people are just like, I'll take jail?
Bruh, I know a whole lot of these young kids gonna be like, nah, bro, let me go do a bid.
Yeah.
Let me go do a bid. I like Muhammad Ali anyway. But to our listeners, as we wrap this midweek mayhem up, I want to know, or we want to know your thoughts. If you were in the Situation Room right now with the president, what would be your advice to him? What is you as the American people and those who may not, because I know we have some international listeners as well too. What are your thoughts and opinions on the current stance of how we as the United States are approaching this situation? What would you tell the president? And I want to preface that he ain't gonna listen to what you got to say, so take that for what it's worth. But what would you tell him, and what do you think our approach will be? And ultimately, who's winning or losing in this conflict, and what really is the cost of what we're seeing? Because we're seeing massive casualties. We're seeing so much going on, and it's really at the tipping point of where this could possibly be of no return. And there's a lot of sensible decisions and conversations that need to be had that, quite frankly, seem like there may be more reaction instead of really having that thought process of how do we really approach this for the betterment of our people, the U.S., the Israelis, the Iranians. Like, who is really thinking like adults here?
One thing I just want to call out, there's a tweet for everything.
Oh, bro.
But on November 11th, 2013, at Real Donald Trump said, "Remember that I predicted a long time ago that President Obama will attack Iran because of his inability to negotiate properly, not skilled."
Bruh.
There's a tweet for everything.
Bro, Trump really be eating his own words, bro.
But regime, in closing words from my side, regime change is not the answer here. It has never worked. Never worked. It always fails.
Yep.
There's got to be a better answer here.
From the ashes, another will rise.
Every time. Every time it happens. And all you're really doing when you're trying to execute regime change is growing a generation of people that will hate you.
Bingo. I never understood why that doesn't make sense to people. That is why there would always, I can't remember where that saying came from, but from the ashes another will come. It always happens. We've seen it in movies. We've seen it happen in real life, real world situations. It always will happen, and this is not the answer, because there's going to be somebody that will empower the people who are opposing what you have done and will fuel them, and you will have a problem that's just as big and just as worse as the last one that you had. So it's never the answer. I completely agree, Manny.
But hey, I guess
We'll see what happens.
I guess we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, we wanted to come and bring you this midweek mayhem edition of Pardon the Politics because there was so much going on. Me and Manny were talking, and it was like, bruh, we wait until we record our regular episodes on Monday. There's going to be so much conflict that would have happened that we probably would have had a 3-hour episode just trying to tell you guys and catch you up with what's going on with Iran and with Israel. But hopefully when we get off this recording, the conflict won't be any more crazier than it already is. Can it give us a break a little bit? So
and if you guys are listening to this like, oh, these guys are anti-Israel. We're anti-Israel. No, we just think they're making the wrong decisions here.
Definitely.
Like these are poor decisions that we don't believe are being guided with the best interests of the Israeli people at heart at this standpoint.
Bingo. Yeah, that is 1,000% correct. That is not our stance here.
We want the best for the people of Israel and Iran. And I think what's best for the people right now is that we stop shooting at each other. Mm-hmm. We take a minute. We go have a Snickers because y'all real wound up. Go have a Snickers or equivalent. And let's come back and let's have a real conversation.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. Everybody needs to sit down, and I will walk in the room and pass everybody a "What would Jesus do" bracelet, and let's start from there.
What would Jesus do?
Well,
and once again, if y'all need help negotiating the deal, just know that the doors of the pod are always open.
If y'all need us to fly out to Greece or wherever on your dime, because if I got to come negotiate the deal now, we need the special.
Yeah, I need some leg space.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I need the special. But if you need help negotiating, call the boys and Pardon the Politics, and we got you, because we got to get rid of this mayhem. I hope that we don't have to go into these next following weeks, and these midweek mayhems are going to start being a recurring thing. And President Trump and Big Benny, can y'all please let the boys have a break? Please.
Just let us have a little break.
Just a little break.
Just a little break. Yeah. To our listeners, we are not planning to talk to you all again via a podcast before Monday.
Yes.
But if you hear from us again, just know things are not going well.
Yeah. If we got to turn these mics on midweek,
I'm behind.
Just know we mad about it, but we know that we have an obligation to our listeners.
And we will be turning on that explicit content flag.
Yep.
Because I'm going to have some things to say. Because I messed up my week and my planning.
You messed me up. But with that being said, that is our special edition of Midweek Mayhem here at Pardon the Politics. We appreciate you listening in. We hope this episode, as always, finds you well. And like we always say, if don't nobody love you, just know the boys here at the pod love you. And we enjoy that you guys are a part of our Pardon the Politics family. And we will see you in the next episode. Manny, you good? All hearts and minds clear. I forgot to ask you, brother.
And just prayers for the people in Iran and Israel who are having to deal with this. And I pray for your safety. I can't imagine the level of anxiety that you all are dealing with. Prayers for you all. And you know what? Prayers for the leaders of both regimes.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Because there's one thing both y'all need right now. It's Jesus.
Y'all need a good dose of Jesus.
You little dose of, well, I need just a little more Jesus.
We're gonna send a plane with Kurt Franklin, TD Jakes. We're gonna round up a whole bunch of people that are of the faith, that we're gonna send them out there to see if they can turn you around. Place your feet on solid ground. That is our episode. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in, and we will see you at the next episode. Take care, world.